Recently, Beijing has issued a new regulation that prohibits advertising on buses passing through Tiananmen Square. Yes, you heard it right, buses in front of Tiananmen Square must maintain a clean and elegant appearance, just like those who are working out and trying to lose weight, avoiding anything that could make them gain weight. I wonder, will advertisements really make Tiananmen Square dirty? Aren't those advertisements giving the buses a colorful new look? If there are no advertisements, how would we know which brand of shampoo is the best or which internet service provider offers the best package? It's like going to a 5-star restaurant and the waiter tells you, "Sorry, we don't have a menu, you can only order water." Then why did I come here? A Beijing resident named Mr. Zhang is also puzzled. He said, there are only a few bus routes on Chang'an Avenue, in front of Tiananmen Square, like Route 1 and 5, not many. Route 22 doesn't even pass through here anymore. It's so clean, I really don't understand why. Mr. Zhang, I understand your confusion, but I think you might have misunderstood the word, clean. Here, clean doesn't refer to cleanliness, but rather the appearance of the buses, just like a person dressed neatly without any decorations. I know it sounds absurd, but government decisions always have some unpredictable aspects, don't they? Let's talk about the designated area where advertising is prohibited, from the Wangfujing intersection to Exodin section of Chang'an Avenue. Isn't this the most prosperous area in Beijing, the golden zone for advertisements? Now it has become an advertising-free zone, which is truly surprising. I heard that the reason for this ban is to exclude commercialism. I can only say that if even buses need to exclude commercialism, then shouldn't all our daily commercial activities be excluded too? Does buying groceries at a supermarket count as a commercial activity? Does eating at a restaurant count as a commercial activity? Does going to the cinema count as a commercial activity? It seems like we all need to be cautious from now on, otherwise, we might be excluded one day by accident. It is said that this ban on advertising on buses is similar to the model in Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, aiming to highlight China's ideology. I think we should thank China's leaders for making Chinese cities more like North Korea. I used to envy the people of North Korea who live in a world without advertisements, but for well-known reasons, I never had the chance to visit that ad-free world. Now it seems like I have the opportunity. I think I should go to China and see how they live in a world without advertisements. This new regulation reminds me of a term, overcorrection. Of course, we need to maintain cleanliness and tidiness in public spaces, but it doesn't mean we have to completely exclude commercialism and erase all colors. After all, life is colorful, isn't it? Overall, I think this new regulation is a blow to the advertising industry. However, I believe that even without bus advertisements, advertisers will find other ways to inform us about new products and promotions. At least, they can still advertise on television, or they can find people in front of Tiananmen Square and have them wear clothes with advertisements on them, so we can still see advertisements in front of Tiananmen Square. After all, the regulation only prohibits advertising on buses, not on people, right? Gal Luft, an Israeli-American man, you may not be familiar with this name, but he recently became well known for continuously exposing the bribery of President Biden's son. Now, he is being accused by U.S. prosecutors of being a spy for China. It seems that this gentleman has found a delicate balance between exposing and spying, which is probably the art of life, or should I say, the headline-making art. Do you know what he did? This guy is accused of conspiring with others to advance China's interests, and he failed to register as a foreign agent as required by U.S. law. For this accusation, I can only say that his lawyer is clearly on vacation. You know, if you want to become an agent for China, you should at least register in the U.S., right? Isn't that a rule? They should have taught this in spy training, right? It is reported that he is also accused of arms trafficking, violating sanctions against Iran, and making false statements to federal investigators. I wonder how this guy found the time to accomplish so many tasks. He has 24 hours, we also have 24 hours, but in his 24 hours, he has many more lines than us, including being a spy, exposing bribery, arms trafficking, violating sanctions, and making false statements. His schedule must be busier than my parents'. This news is truly surprising. But the most astonishing part is that he successfully disappeared after being arrested. Well, we have to give him some credit. I think his escapism skills might rival his spying skills. How did he manage to do it? Did he use an invisibility cloak or pull out a magical pocket to fly away in an airplane? And he may face up to 20 years of imprisonment. The good news is, if he manages to escape again, he can consider a career change as a magician. Lastly, let's not forget the beginning of this story, where he has been exposing Biden's son's bribery. This story tells us that while you are busy exposing others, you might also be exposed by others. That's life, you never know what will happen in the next second, just like we never know where Mr. Luft will appear in the next country. On July 10, the Vietnamese government banned the Chinese TV drama, The Wind Rises. The reason was the appearance of China's 9-line map in the series. It's truly laughable and sad at the same time. The Vietnamese Ministry of Culture posted this news on its official website, emphasizing that their censors discovered that 9-line map in the 9th episode of The Wind Rises. It makes me curious, did they suddenly exclaim, "Ah, the 9-line," while watching, or did they specifically look for the 9-line from the beginning? The Vietnamese government is really impressive. Even though FPT Telecom blurred the map, they still found the issue. I guess they must have hired a group of map detectives, specifically responsible for discovering the 9-line hidden in film and television works. These people are like the Sherlock Holmes of the map world. This is the third investigation in Vietnam in 8 days related to the 9-line map in entertainment programs. Last Monday, on July 3, they banned the release of the Hollywood movie, Barbie, because it featured the 9-line map. Last Wednesday, on July 5, the concert of the South Korean girl group Blackpink was investigated due to the 9-line map. I wonder if this 9-line has become Vietnam's new phobia? They check under their beds, on TV, and even in Barbie's dreams every night, looking for the 9-line. I bet their next step might be to ban children from playing jigsaw puzzle games to prevent them from accidentally piecing together the 9-line and then rushing to claim the South China Sea. Walking Against the Wind is a love drama, so what does it have to do with the sovereignty issue in the South China Sea? Does the Vietnamese government think this drama will lead viewers to fight over islands? That's quite imaginative. Maybe their next move will be to ban Kung Fu Panda, for fear that pandas will use Chinese martial arts to defend the South China Sea. But on the other hand, China and Vietnam are cut from the same cloth, both adept at using maps to boycott artistic works. This time, they are competing against each other to see who is more skilled. Fortunately, China and Vietnam are still discussing the joint development of oil and gas resources in the Gulf of Tonkin. Although the sovereignty issue remains unresolved, everyone knows that money is more important than sovereignty. As long as they can get rich together, everyone is good friends. After all, money knows no borders, only more and more change. I hope the Vietnamese government can relax and not be hypersensitive to maps. Maps are not your enemies, they are just pieces of paper. Otherwise, tomorrow's headline might be talk show host banned in Vietnam for making 9-line jokes. That would be something to look forward to. Leaders of NATO member countries attending the NATO summit took a family photo on July 11. The two-day summit was held in Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania. NATO's strategic concept released last year mentioned for the first time that China poses challenges to NATO's interests, security, and values. There are signs that China may become one of the key topics at the Vilnius summit. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg said on the 10th that Beijing is observing the cost and gains of Russia's aggression, and he said that if Russia succeeds in Ukraine, it would be very dangerous for the whole world, sending a signal to authoritarian regimes that they can achieve their goals through force. The Secretary-General also said that leaders of Japan and South Korea have expressed concerns that what is happening in Europe today could happen in Asia tomorrow. Solomon Islands Prime Minister Manasseh Sogaver visited China, and Xi Jinping described the Solomon Islands as a reliable good brother, saying that the bilateral relationship has advanced since its establishment. After taking office in 2019, Sogaver severed diplomatic ties with Taiwan and established relations with China. Xi Jinping pointed out that since establishing diplomatic relations, the friendly cooperation between the two countries has advanced, putting them at the forefront of China's relations with Pacific Island countries. The geopolitical competition between China, the United States, and Australia has brought benefits to Pacific Island countries, with large sums of money flowing into their coffers. Most Pacific Island countries have not chosen sides between the US and China. However, Sogaver's visit to China may exacerbate concerns about the Solomon Islands leaning closer to China. Sogaver visited China on the 9th and signed a new police cooperation agreement with Chinese Premier Li Chang. Li Chang also stated that the Solomon Islands' decision to establish diplomatic relations with China was the right one. In response to the police cooperation agreement signed between the Solomon Islands and China, Australia pointed out on Tuesday, July 11, that the details of this agreement should be immediately made public by the Solomon Islands and China to provide transparency about their intentions to Australia and the region. U.S. lawmakers revealed that TikTok spent $100 million lobbying close black lens bracket. U.S. senators and congressmen proposed bills to ban TikTok, the international version of Douyin owned by Beijing-based ByteDance, in March this year. However, there has been no significant progress in the legislation so far. Mark Warner, the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, revealed recently that TikTok spent $100 million on lobbying to slow down the legislative process and avoid being banned. ByteDance spent nearly $5.4 million on political lobbying in the United States in 2022. The BRICS summit will be held in physical form. The president of South Africa stated on the 9th that this year's BRICS summit will not be held online but in person. As Russian President Putin faces an international arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court, South Africa may have to arrest him if he attends the summit. There were rumors that the summit would be moved to China. For years, the relationship between China and the United States has been in a dangerous free fall. This summer, senior officials from the Biden administration have been flying to Beijing, attempting to establish a new foundation for bilateral relations through high-level dialogues. However, recent visits by Blinken and others have highlighted the structural problems in the relationship. This kind of diplomacy does not help resolve the Taiwan issue or China's military ambitions in the Asia-Pacific region. Both the Biden administration and Chinese officials are preparing for the intensifying domestic political tensions in the United States next year. It is expected that candidates from both parties in the 2024 election will compete to take a hawkish stance on China. Sun Yun, a scholar at the Stimson Center in Washington studying Chinese foreign policy, said that this year is the last chance for China because next year's U.S. presidential election could make the situation worse. Global consulting firm Bain & Company announced that Yu Yang, the secretary of the Jing'an District Committee in Shanghai, recently visited their office in Shanghai. Yu Yang's visit is seen as an effort to alleviate concerns among foreign companies in China following a series of surprise inspections and arrests. Taiwan officials. China manipulating economic tools to intervene in Taiwan's elections close black lens bracket. Taiwanese media quoted senior Taiwanese national security officials on the 9th, stating that China is not only using military and cognitive operations to harass Taiwan but also manipulating economic tools to intervene in Taiwan's 2024 elections. They have previously banned the import of certain agricultural and fishery products from Taiwan but lifted the ban as elections approach. Officials pointed out that Beijing's actions are creating a dangerous atmosphere of hostility and war, creating a feeling that its friendship with international friends is not trustworthy. Taiwan lacks domestic resources and depends on maritime imports for 97% of its energy. However, Taiwan has been slow in expanding its renewable energy and natural gas capacity. Coupled with the risk of conflict in the Taiwan Strait, it raises concerns about Taiwan's energy security. A group of overseas former Hong Kong legislators have jointly called for the global rejection of Hong Kong's parliamentary status. The Hong Kong Legislative Council passed an amendment to the District Council's ordinance, which reduced the number of elected seats to only 20%. Over 20 pro-democracy politicians elected to the Hong Kong District Councils in 2019 recently co-signed a letter condemning the Hong Kong government for violating the promises of promoting democratic elections in the Basic Law. They urged governments of various countries to no longer recognize the legitimacy of the Hong Kong Parliament and its legitimate representation of the people of Hong Kong. According to several Hong Kong media reports, the Hong Kong Police National Security Department conducted a search at the residence of exiled activist Joshua Wong in Tung Chung on Tuesday morning. It was reported that his parents and brother were taken away by the police for questioning, but no arrests have been made so far. Almost all North Korean defectors pass through China, but China's expanding surveillance system has made it nearly impossible to help them travel to South Korea. The risk of being caught by Chinese police has increased, and the prices charged by human traffickers have skyrocketed. In 2019, 1,047 defectors arrived in South Korea, but last year, that number plummeted to 63. During the pandemic, China imposed strict restrictions on transit and domestic travel. When the pandemic restrictions eased, aid workers received thousands of pleas for help from stranded North Koreans in China. Pastor Chun Ki-won, known for helping North Korean refugees escape through China, said he has never felt so sad and helpless in his 23 years of assisting North Koreans. Industry executives suggest that chiplets could be a simpler way to design more powerful chips, like high-tech Lego blocks. According to insiders, some Chinese engineers have been testing chiplet systems to achieve the performance of a single advanced semiconductor process. Tianfeng International Securities stated in a report that from a Chinese perspective, chiplets could be the key solution to break through the bottleneck of domestic chip manufacturing. Market analysis shows that many U.S.-listed companies with business in China have outperformed the market this year. However, the recent weakness in the Chinese economy has increased the risks for these stocks as earnings season begins. China's stock market, once the most attractive market in Asia for global investors, has seen a decline of over 6% in the Hang Seng Index, while Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan have achieved double-digit percentage gains. The head of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange predicts that by 2030, several of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the Middle East could allocate $1 to $2 trillion in investments to China. The growing economic ties between China and the Middle East indicate future challenges for the United States in dealing with this resource-rich region. The latest official data from China shows a simultaneous decline in consumption and production indexes, worse than market expectations. China attributes this to the downward adjustment of oil prices, but commentators point out that restrictions on high-tech exports from Europe and the United States have resulted in a lack of demand for Chinese industrial products, leading to stagnation. The data reflects the weakness of the Chinese economy, and the expected post-pandemic economic rebound has not materialized. Nomura economist Liu Ting stated in a research report that China's economy only briefly recovered after lifting the dynamic zero-COVID policy, and the real estate industry has started to decline again. These indicate that the impact of government stimulus policies may be weaker. He expects the Chinese government to announce further rescue plans, but these measures may be progressive. Some had previously bet that Chinese regulatory agencies would boost the struggling real estate industry, but their expectations were disappointed on Monday, at least for now. China stated on Monday that it will extend support policies for the struggling real estate industry, allowing commercial banks to extend loans to cash-strapped developers. The prolonged downturn in the real estate sector has put pressure on China's economic recovery. China's overall debt is nearly 3 times its GDP. According to the New York Times, due to limited official data from China, it is difficult to determine the exact figure of China's debt. However, researchers at J.P. Morgan calculated that China's total debt has reached 282% of its annual economic output, compared to an average ratio of 256% for developed economies globally and 257% for the United States. The rapid accumulation of Chinese debt has made managing it more challenging. China is currently facing increasing deflationary pressures, which sharply contrast with the stubborn high inflation efforts in many Western countries. Balancing economic cooling without causing social instability will be a major challenge for the Chinese government. As Chinese urban women's economic and educational levels rise, marriage is no longer a necessity. Men express economic and cultural pressures when it comes to getting married. China's recent political and economic instability has also affected the expectations of many young people in establishing families. The number of marriages in China has been declining for 9 consecutive years. According to government data, the number of couples registered for marriage last year was the lowest since records began in 1986. To address this issue, the Chinese government has launched campaigns to encourage marriage and childbirth, including state-sponsored matchmaking events. The government is conducting pilot projects promoting New Era marriages in 20 cities, with one of the aims being shared responsibility for raising children between husbands and wives. A local government in eastern China even launched a marriage app. Due to the continuous decline in the birth rate, some Chinese provinces and cities have begun allowing unmarried women to register their children, receive subsidies, but strict restrictions still apply to procedures like egg freezing. After 3 years of border control during the pandemic, some single Chinese women have had to pay high costs to have egg retrieval surgery overseas and store their eggs abroad. According to the Financial Times, China intends to tighten regulations for AI that were previously proposed, requiring companies to obtain licenses before releasing related products. This move indicates Beijing's efforts to strike a balance between technological development and content censorship. Chinese authorities announced that they will strengthen the regulation of information released by self-media. On Monday, July 10, the Cyberspace Administration of China issued a notice containing 13 regulations to enhance the supervision of self-media. It requires the crackdown on accounts that spread rumors and exploit social hot topics or negative information related to disasters. It also demands social media platforms to shut down accounts that produce and spread rumors and exploit social hot topics. On July 11, Chinese netizens discovered that the official website of the Italian luxury brand Bulgari added China before Hong Kong and Macau in its store distribution information, while Taiwan did not have China added before it. This incident quickly gained attention on social media. Numerous netizens flooded the official Weibo account of Bulgari with comments saying, China, Taiwan. China's Shandong Airlines was officially delisted on Monday, July 10, marking the end of its 23-year listing journey. Shandong Airlines became the first Chinese airline to be forcibly delisted. The Chinese women's national football team announced a partnership with the international luxury brand Prada on Monday, July 10. Prada will provide formal attire support for the Chinese women's national team, presenting a new public image beyond the football field. In recent times, Europe and Asia have experienced waves of heat waves, The smoke from forest fires in Canada has also affected the United States, and the sea ice in Antarctica has reached record lows. In Taiwan and China, many places are experiencing temperatures approaching 40 degrees Celsius. With the high temperatures, the electricity load in southern China continues to rise. On Monday, July 10, the peak electricity load in the southern power grid reached 226 million kilowatts, setting a new historical high and increasing by 3 million kilowatts compared to the previous year's peak load. Hello everyone, I am your news anchor Yali. We provide you with a one-stop service for China-related news every day. Feel free to leave comments in the comment section, and we will carefully read and respond to your comments. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode. Take care everyone.